AOTV Productions is with us here live. And he says Jonathan Coachman, who does a podcast these days, claims that Vince has refused to speak to Triple H and Stephanie for getting him kicked out of WWE. What do you think? Again, you and I don't have any inside information. We're not close personal family friends of the McMahons, but at least there is a credible source. I've never known Coach to come out and just outright lie. So at least he has heard from someone that perhaps the business of WWE has interfered with the McMahon family. I guess that's not really that big of a surprise, but man, you do hate to hear that fathers and daughters are estranged if that report is accurate, right?
I hate it. I hope that's not true. Look, Vince made the choices he made and has suffered the consequences, and I'm sure is dealing with things that none of us understand. Not trying to get sympathy for him, but he stepped in some shit, and it's going to be a while before he gets away from the smell. It just is what it is. But the last thing you want, after all of that and everything else that not only he's gone through, but he put his family through.
Yeah.
His grandchildren. It wasn't just him. And I was really hoping, and still do, that they'll get through that part.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to lose your family. And I don't want to say especially, but Vince, I never talked to him about it. I was pretty close to both of them, when I was in WWE, both the first time and working for Vince for a minute. He adored her, and she him. So whatever happened, I don't know. I don't know any of the backstory. I don't know who did what to who or whatever. I don't know that. But whatever it was probably for the best interest of the company. I really hope it someday they figure that out pretty quick, because Vince is not, his mom was around when she lived to be 102 or something, or 99. So Vince is going to be with us for a while, but man, you don't want to waste that time carrying around baggage like that you inflicted on yourself. Come on.
Yeah, listen, I know that sometimes, people who comment on wrestling have an opinion about what people should do in their life. Yeah, they do have an opinion about everything. But this, let's set wrestling aside for a minute. There's a lot more to life than wrestling or WWE. This is a real personal relationship. And, what we saw from afar as fans was, hey man, she was daddy's girl. And I realized that things have changed and there's been a lot of bad things that have happened, but you do hope they can get back to a place of peace.
And you know what's ironic is if you go back and you look at the Vince McMahon documentary, it got uncomfortable for me a couple times, particularly talking about Shane and hearing from Shane about, hoping to get his father's approval. Well, Stephanie had all that and more.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the scene well enough or the dialogue, but it's something to the effect of, Vince putting his life behind the business. There was nothing he wouldn't do to protect the business. By that, I mean the WWE. And Shane just didn't have the guts. It was something to the effect, here's a knife. You want to take over here. Let's see if you got the guts. That's my reference point there. Well, Stephanie had the knife. She knew, if you believe, and I'm not saying I believe this is the story that's out there and what Jonathan Coachman, who's a good friend, by the way, this is the backstory that he's using as a premise in his comment. If it's true that either Stephanie and or Triple H knew that there were issues that could tank the company, but did what they thought best to protect the company, even if that include exposing something.
Wow.
In a way, Stephanie did exactly what Vince purported he would do.
Holy shit. I never even considered that.
And the irony is not lost on me.
Wow.
So even if it's, and again, I'm not saying I'm buying the backstory, but also will say it could be true. And if it is, Stephanie did what Stephanie and Paul, if it was them together, they did what they had to do to protect the company because it was going to come out anyway. So, yeah, it's weird. And I hope they get, and I just hope they get through it. I was interesting, the WrestleMania, or it might have been at Hall of Fame. I can't remember. It had to be Hall of Fame or I wouldn't have heard it. Paul really laid his heart out there and said he loved Vince.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I was sitting, pretty close to the stage when he said it. I thought, there's hope. Maybe there's reconciliation in the air, just as a family, not business wise. I don't think that day will ever come, or should it? But family wise, I thought, man, maybe this is a good sign. We're seeing more of Stephanie. She's becoming more comfortable being out in front of public. And again, I don't know how she's really feeling about all this, but I can put myself in her shoes and really not want to be, consumer facing on television, out in public, while I'm processing everything she's processing. I would have to process. I would avoid that. But now I see her coming back over the last couple of months. We're seeing more and more of Stephanie. She's obviously feeling pretty comfortable again. And then I heard the Paul, comment about, loving Vince McMahon. I thought, all right, here we go. They'll get through this. So I hope that I'm going to stick with that. I hope that's the case.
I think we're all pulling for that. I mean, it's better when families can find a happy medium and figure out a way to enjoy what little time we all have here left together. I guess Coach has been busy on his podcast. Be sure to check it out. It's Behind the Turnbuckle, anywhere you enjoy podcasts. I know he's got a fabulous podcast with Carlucci. I think he's got one with Vince Russo too. I think it's Coach and Bro or Bro and Coach or something like that.
No wonder I haven't listened to it.
Well, you like half of the show, okay? And Coach also says that, this is according to AOTV Productions, Vince McMahon, this is according to a report that Coach had, Vince McMahon is happy to see Triple H's power struggle with The Rock backstage in WWE. Now, I have to admit, I didn't hear the clip, but this is the report we're seeing live here on YouTube from AOTV Productions on YouTube. So since you and I have not heard the clip, we don't know exactly what we're commenting on, but I guess the inference is that what we had sort of wondered and pondered about is this Rock and Triple H thing. Is it a real struggle? Are they building towards some sort of story? It looks like, according to Coach, he believes it is a real struggle, and perhaps Vince is happy to see that there may be some unrest with Triple H in the big seat. How does that report strike you, Eric?
Again, without knowing, like having a feel, and honestly, I need to know, but I've got to be close enough to something to at least get a feel for it, whether it could be real or not. I don't know if this is true or this is just internet wrestling.
Yeah.
Drama. Here's why I don't take it at face value and would question it. Vince doesn't want WWE to fail.
That's right.
He may be pissed. He may be hurt if he's capable of feeling that emotion. Probably really angry and bitter. But even with that, you don't want the company to fail. That's your legacy. Regardless of what happened, you built that company for all intents and purposes. WWE is currently enjoying the fruits of Vince McMahon's labor over the last however many years, 40. It's still your company, dude. You don't want it to fail. And I don't think he does. That's why I don't buy that. Nobody wants to see that because it affects business. And ultimately, well, who knows? I don't even want to make that comment, but Triple H is doing a pretty damn good job. Netflix, Mark Shapiro recently, put Paul over pretty strongly to the business community, not to the wrestling community. Not that it doesn't matter, but when you put somebody over in the business community, what you're really saying is this muckerfather isn't going anywhere. Just so you know, he ain't going anywhere. So I don't think that, I tend to think that it's not true.
We're helping people save money at SaveWithConrad.com. And with all the economic turmoil going on the last few weeks and all the uncertainty it brings, here's one thing that is certain. Your home is still worth more than what you paid for it. According to the Zillow Home Value Index, the value of your home is still going up year over year, which means you're most likely sitting on untapped equity. Did you purchase your home or refinance it a few years back and got one of those really low COVID interest rates, and now maybe you're worried about giving it up? Well, here's something to think about. While the interest on your mortgage payment is low, the interest you're paying on your credit card balances is most likely wiping out those savings and then some. So what's more important, clinging on to that low rate or saving money each month? Let's talk about using the equity you've built up in your home and rolling all that debt into one lower monthly payment. Someone who just did that was our man Andrew, a maintenance worker in Tennessee. He needed to pay off some debt, and he needed to get a new roof and some new floors for his home. So instead of taking out more debt to do these upgrades, he came to SaveWithConrad.com to use the equity he's built up in his home and do a refinance. SaveWithConrad.com helped him accomplish all of those upgrades he wanted on his home. He paid off his debt, and now he's saving over $400 a month. He even got to skip his next 2 house payments. And you can do it too. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com and let my team run the numbers for you for free. There's no cost and no obligation. And if we can't help you save some money today, we won't waste your time. It doesn't cost a thing to look, and you've got nothing to lose except some crazy high interest rates on those credit cards. You know you can do better. Start saving money today for your family with my family at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.